Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English in Advance. I'm your host, Jessica, and I am so happy you've chosen to spend some time with me today. Before we begin our journey, I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. Imagine yourself in a conversation. Someone asks you a question in English, and without any pause, without any hesitation, an answer flows out of you. It's not just a correct answer, it's a natural one. You're not thinking about grammar rules. You're not searching for words in your memory. You're not translating from your native language. You are simply thinking in English. For so many of you listening right now, this might feel like a distant dream, an impossible goal. You might be thinking, Jessica, I've been studying for years. I know hundreds of grammar rules. I have flashcards full of vocabulary, but when I try to speak, my brain just freezes. That moment of silence, when your mind is racing to translate a thought from your native tongue, piece by piece, into an English sentence. That feeling is exhausting. It's frustrating. And I know because I've spoken with countless learners who feel the exact same way. I remember a student of mine, let's call her Maria. Maria was from Brazil, and she was one of the most dedicated students I had ever met. She could explain the difference between the past perfect and the past simple tense better than many native speakers. Her test scores were always perfect. But one day, she came to me with tears in her eyes. She told me a story about being at a coffee shop. A friendly tourist had asked her a simple question. Do you know a good place to visit around here? Maria knew the answer. In her mind, in Portuguese, she had a perfect, detailed response ready. She knew a beautiful park just a few blocks away, a small museum with local art, and a wonderful little bookstore. But when she opened her mouth to speak, nothing came out. Her brain felt like a traffic jam. She was trying to translate, well, there is a park. But which word for park should she use? Is there is the most natural way to start? Should she say nearby or around here? By the time she had struggled to form the first part of the sentence, the tourist had already smiled politely and said, "It's okay, thank you," and walked away. Maria felt like a failure. All those years of study, all that knowledge, and she couldn't even have a simple 2-minute conversation. That experience is what I call the translation wall. It's the invisible barrier that stands between knowing English and using English. It's the habit of mentally translating everything from your native language. And it is the single biggest obstacle to achieving true fluency. Today, we are not just going to talk about that wall. We are going to start breaking it down, brick by brick. This isn't just another lesson about grammar or vocabulary. This is a practical guide to rewiring your brain. We are going to explore the secrets to shifting your mind from translating in English to thinking directly in it. This is the key that unlocks natural, confident, and effortless speech. So if you have ever felt like Maria, if you are tired of feeling stuck, then stay with me. Get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's begin the journey to finally start thinking in English. The first and most important step in this journey is to understand why the translation habit is so damaging to your fluency. When you translate, you are essentially forcing your brain to do 2 jobs at once. First, it has to form a thought in your native language. Second, it has to search for the corresponding words and grammatical structures in English. This is an incredibly slow and inefficient process. Think of it like this. Imagine you are trying to cook a meal using two different recipe books at the same time, one in Spanish and one in Japanese. You read a step in the Spanish book, then you have to find the matching step in the Japanese book, translate the ingredients, and figure out the instructions. How long would it take you to cook that meal? It would be a slow, frustrating, and confusing process. That is exactly what your brain is doing when you translate in a conversation. Real conversation doesn't wait for you. It moves at the speed of thought, not at the speed of translation. To speak fluently, your thoughts and your words need to be on the same team, speaking the same language. The goal is to create a direct link between a concept, an idea, or an object, and the English word for it. When you see a tree, your brain should think tree, not the word for tree in your native language, and then translate it. This might sound difficult, but it's a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned with practice. The secret is to start small, incredibly small. You don't need a conversation partner for this. You don't need a classroom. You only need you, your mind, and the world around you. This brings us to our very first secret technique, which I call the narration technique. It's simple, powerful, and you can start doing it the moment this video ends. The idea is to become the narrator of your own life, but in English. As you go about your day, describe your actions, your surroundings, and your thoughts in simple English sentences. You don't have to say them out loud at first. You could just think them. For example, when you wake up in the morning, your inner monologue could be, "I am waking up now. The room is a little cold. I need to get out of bed." As you walk to the kitchen, you think, "I am walking to the kitchen. I am going to make some coffee. I am opening the cabinet." The sentences can be incredibly simple. The point is not to be poetic or complex. The point is to build the habit of forming thoughts directly in English. Let's practice this together right now. Wherever you are, just look around you. What do you see? Don't translate. Just observe and form a simple English sentence in your mind. Maybe you see a window. You can think, "I see a window." Or maybe you're holding your phone. "My phone is in my hand." Perhaps you hear a sound outside. "I hear a car." Let's try saying one out loud together. I'll say one about my room. You say one about yours. My sentence is, "There is a lamp on my desk." Now it's your turn. Say your sentence out loud. Excellent. It might feel a little strange at first, but this simple exercise is incredibly powerful. You are bypassing the translation step and creating a direct link between the object and the English words. Let me tell you about another student, Kenji, from Japan. Kenji was an engineer, and his mind was incredibly logical. He loved the structure of English grammar. He could ace any written exam, but speaking terrified him. When his boss, who was from the United States, would ask him a question like, "Kenji, what do you think about the project timeline?" Kenji's mind would go into panic mode. Inside his head, a complex process would begin. First, he would formulate a detailed, polite answer in Japanese. Then he would begin the slow, painful process of translating it. He would worry about choosing the right vocabulary. Should he say timeline or schedule? He would stress about the correct verb tense. Should he use the present simple or the present continuous? By the time he was ready to speak, the conversation had already moved on, and all he could manage was a simple, "Yes, it is okay." He felt like he was hiding his true intelligence behind a wall of translation. I introduced Kenji to the narration technique. I told him to start narrating his daily commute to work. At first, it was very basic. I am on the train. I see many people. The train is moving. But slowly, day by day, he started adding more detail. I am on a crowded train this morning. I see a man reading a newspaper. The train is moving fast. After a few weeks, something amazing happened. He started narrating not just his actions, but his thoughts. I think this project timeline is too short. I am worried about the deadline. I need to talk to my boss about my concerns. He was practicing the exact conversation he was afraid of, all inside his own mind. A month later, his boss asked him for his opinion again. This time, Kenji took a breath, and instead of translating, he accessed the thoughts he had already been practicing in English. He said, "Actually, I think the timeline is a little tight. I am concerned about the deadline. It wasn't perfect, but it was direct. It was his real opinion." For the first time, he felt like he had truly communicated at work. That small victory changed everything for him. It was the first crack in the translation wall. So your first mission, your first step towards thinking in English, is to become the narrator of your life. Start today. Narrate the process of making your dinner tonight. Narrate your routine before you go to bed. Do it every day. The sentences will become more complex over time, and the habit will become stronger. You are planting the seeds of an English brain, a part of your mind that can think and function directly in the language without the need for a translator. This is the foundation upon which all other fluency skills are built. Once you begin practicing the narration technique, you are actively building the habit of thinking in English. But to truly accelerate this process, you need to surround yourself with the language. You need to create an environment where your brain is constantly receiving English input, even when you are not actively studying. This is the concept of immersion, and it is our second secret. Now, when most people hear the word immersion, they think of moving to an English-speaking country. While that is a wonderful way to learn, it's not possible or practical for everyone. The good news is that you can create a powerful, immersive English bubble right where you are, in your own home, in your own city. We can break immersion down into two types: passive immersion and active immersion. Both are incredibly important for training your brain. Let's start with passive immersion. This is about surrounding yourself with the sounds and rhythms of English without the pressure of having to understand every single word. The goal here is to get your brain comfortable with English as a background noise, to let it absorb the melody, the cadence, and the flow of the language subconsciously. It's like learning the lyrics to a song just by hearing it on the radio many times. You don't sit down and study the words, but eventually you find yourself singing along. So how do you create passive immersion? There are many simple, easy ways to start. One of the most effective is to change the language settings on your digital devices. Change your phone, your laptop, and your social media accounts to English. At first, it will feel a little challenging. You might struggle to find the settings you need, but within a few days, you will adapt. You will learn the English words for settings, messages, notifications, and profile without ever opening a textbook. You are learning through necessity, which is one of the most powerful ways to remember new vocabulary. Another fantastic method for passive immersion is to fill your home with the sound of English. When you are cooking, cleaning, or just relaxing, play an English language radio station, a podcast, or the news in the background. You don't need to be actively listening. Let the words wash over you. Your brain, even when you're not paying attention, is a remarkable pattern-finding machine. It will start to recognize common sounds, the rhythm of questions, the intonation of statements, and the natural pauses in conversation. This builds a subconscious foundation that makes active listening much, much easier later on. I remember a student from Spain named Sophia. Sophia felt completely overwhelmed by the idea of immersion. She told me, "Jessica, I work all day. When I come home, I'm too tired to study. How can I possibly immerse myself?" I suggested she start with something she already loved, music. Sophia was a huge fan of American pop music. So instead of just listening to the songs, I encouraged her to find the lyrics online and read them as she listened. She wasn't trying to memorize every word. She was just connecting the sounds she heard with the words on the page. Then I told her to play those same songs in the background while she was making dinner. Over a few weeks, Sophia noticed something magical happening. She started to catch phrases from the songs without even trying. She found herself humming a tune and realizing she knew the English words. "I'm on top of the world," she'd sing to herself while washing the dishes. She wasn't studying. She was simply absorbing the language through a joyful, everyday activity. This brings us to the next level: active immersion. Passive immersion tunes your ear, but active immersion builds your understanding. This is where you consciously engage with English content. It's about focusing your attention and making an effort to comprehend what you are seeing or hearing. This is where real, tangible progress happens. One of the best methods for active immersion is what I call the active watching method. Choose a TV show or a movie that you find interesting. The key is to pick something you genuinely enjoy, because that will keep you motivated. Here's the 3-step process. First, watch a short scene, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, with subtitles in your native language. This first viewing is just for you to understand the plot, the context, and what the characters are talking about. Don't worry about the English yet, just enjoy the story. Second, watch the exact same scene again, but this time with English subtitles. Now, your job is to connect the spoken words you hear with the written words you see. Pay attention to how words are pronounced. Notice how some words seem to blend together in natural speech. For example, you might read going to, but you hear gonna. This step is crucial for bridging the gap between textbook English and real-world English. Third, watch that same scene one more time, but this time with no subtitles at all. This is your test. How much can you understand now, just by listening? You will be amazed at how much more you can catch after the first 2 steps. Your brain has been primed with the context and the vocabulary, and now it can focus entirely on the sounds. Sophia, my student who started with music, decided to try this method with a popular American sitcom she had heard about. The first time she watched a scene with no subtitles, she felt lost. The characters spoke so fast and the jokes went right over her head. She felt discouraged, but she trusted the process. She watched again with Spanish subtitles and understood the story. Then she watched with English subtitles and had several aha moments. She saw the phrase, "What's up?" and connected it to the casual "what's up" sound she had heard. After watching the scene for the 3rd time with no subtitles, she understood one of the jokes. She actually laughed at the right moment. It was a small thing, but for her it was a huge breakthrough. She realized she could understand fast, natural English. It just required a different kind of practice. Another powerful tool for active immersion is podcasts. Find a podcast on a topic you are passionate about. If you love history, find a history podcast. If you're into technology, find a tech podcast. When you are learning about something you love, it doesn't feel like studying. Listen to an episode multiple times. The first time, just try to get the main idea. The second time, listen for specific details or new vocabulary words. You can even use the transcript if one is available to follow along. Let's try a very small active listening exercise right now. I'm going to say a common sentence at a natural conversational speed. Just listen. Don't worry if you don't catch everything. Ready? The sentence is, I'm going to try to get it done by the end of the day. Now, let's break that down. What you read is, I am going to try to get it done by the end of the day. But what you often hear is, I'm going to try to get it done by the end of the day. Notice how going to becomes gonna. Try to becomes tryda. Get it becomes get it. End of becomes enda. This is connected speech, and active immersion is the only way to train your brain to decode it automatically. By combining passive immersion to tune your ear and active immersion to build your comprehension, you are creating a rich English environment for yourself. You are feeding your brain a constant stream of authentic language. This process slowly and steadily builds your English brain, making it stronger, faster, and more adept at thinking directly in the language. Your next mission is to create your own immersion bubble. Change your phone language today. Find a playlist of English songs you like. Pick a TV show and commit to using the active watching method on just one scene this week. Every small step you take creates a ripple effect, making the next step even easier. So far, we have discussed the importance of escaping the translation trap through narration and building your English brain with immersion. These two secrets are incredibly powerful for developing your internal ability to think in English. However, at some point, those thoughts need to come out. You need to speak, and this is where many learners face their biggest fear and their most common excuse. But Jessica, I have no one to practice speaking with. This feeling of isolation can be a major roadblock. You might feel that without a native speaker to talk to every day, you will never be able to improve your fluency. But I am here to tell you that this is one of the biggest myths in language learning. While practicing with others is valuable, some of the most effective speaking practice you can do happens when you are completely alone. This brings us to our third secret, the revolution of self-talk and shadowing. Let's first expand on the idea of self-talk. We already introduced the narration technique, which is a form of self-talk where you describe your actions. Now we're going to take it to the next level. Instead of just narrating, you are going to start having actual conversations with yourself. This might sound strange, but it is a private, zero-pressure training ground for your speaking muscles. You can ask yourself questions and then answer them out loud. For example, you could start your day by asking yourself, "So what's the plan for today?" And then you answer, "Well, first, I have that important meeting at 10 a.m. I need to prepare for it. After work, I think I'll go to the gym. I'm feeling a little bit tired, but I know I'll feel better after I exercise." In this simple internal conversation, you are practicing a huge range of skills. You are forming questions, stating plans, expressing feelings, and using connecting words like well and but. You are doing all of this without the fear of being judged, without the pressure of having to find the perfect word instantly. You can pause, you can correct yourself, and you can try different ways of phrasing the same idea. It is the ultimate safe space for speaking practice. Let me tell you about a student from South Korea named David. David was incredibly shy. The thought of speaking English to a stranger made his heart pound. He was so afraid of making a mistake and embarrassing himself that he would simply stay silent in group discussions. He felt trapped by his own fear. I suggested he try advanced self-talk. I told him to pick a topic each day and talk about it to himself for just 5 minutes in his room. He started with simple things, like describing his favorite movie or talking about his weekend plans. At first, it was very difficult. He would often stop, unable to find the right word, and his mind would automatically switch back to Korean. But he persisted. I remember him telling me about the day he was trying to decide what to have for dinner. He started a self-talk conversation. Okay, what should I eat tonight? I could cook, but I don't have many ingredients. Maybe I should order something. Pizza? No, I had pizza last week. How about Korean food? Yes, that sounds good. I think I'll order bibimbap. He told me that halfway through this mental debate, he realized he had done the entire thing in English without even noticing. His inner monologue, the very voice inside his head, was starting to switch languages. This was a monumental shift. He was building fluency from the inside out. Now, let's talk about the second part of this secret weapon. Shadowing. Shadowing is one of the most powerful techniques for developing natural-sounding speech. It goes beyond simple repetition. When you shadow, you listen to a native speaker and you speak along with them at the exact same time, like an echo that is just a split second behind. The goal is not to understand every single word they are saying. The primary goal of shadowing is to mimic the music of the language. You are copying the rhythm, the intonation, the rise and fall of the voice, the stress patterns on words, and the way words connect together. It's a physical exercise for your mouth, tongue, and vocal cords, training them to produce the sounds and flow of English naturally. Here's how you can do it. Find a short audio clip, maybe 30 seconds to a minute long, of a native speaker talking at a natural pace. A podcast, a TED Talk, or even a scene from a movie works perfectly. First, just listen to the clip once or twice to get a feel for the speaker's rhythm and speed. Then play the clip again and this time try to speak along with it. Don't worry if you stumble or miss words. Just try to keep up with the speaker's pace and copy their melody. It will feel very strange and difficult at first. Your mouth might not be able to move that fast, but stick with it. Do the same short clip every day for a week. You will be astonished at how your mouth starts to adapt. Let's try a tiny bit of shadowing right now. It's easier if you can hear me. I'm going to say a sentence, and I want you to try and say it along with me, as if you are my shadow. Ready? I'll say it twice. The first time, just listen. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Now, this time, try to say it with me. Ready? Go. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. How did that feel? A little clumsy, perhaps? That's completely normal, but can you feel how it forces you to focus on the flow rather than individual words? You're not thinking about grammar, you're feeling the rhythm. That is the magic of shadowing. David, my shy student, started combining his daily self-talk with 5 minutes of shadowing. He chose a YouTuber he liked, who spoke clearly about video games, a topic David was passionate about. He would shadow the same video introduction every day. Slowly but surely, the rhythm of the YouTuber's speech started to influence his own. His sentences began to have a more natural rise and fall, and he started using pauses more effectively. The real test came a few months later. David was at a coffee shop and the barista, a native English speaker, asked him, "How's your day going?" In the past, David would have frozen. His mind would have gone blank. But this time, something different happened. The self-talk practice had prepared him to answer that exact question. The shadowing practice had given his mouth the muscle memory for a natural response. Without translating, without panicking, he simply smiled and said, "It's going pretty well, thanks," just grabbing a coffee before heading back to work. The barista nodded and replied, "Cool, enjoy your coffee." It was a tiny interaction. It lasted less than 10 seconds. But for David, it was like winning a championship. The words had come out naturally. They flowed. He had used his secret weapons, practiced in the privacy of his own room, to win a real-world victory. Your third mission is to start speaking, even when you are alone. Schedule 5 minutes of self-talk into your day. Talk about your plans, your worries, your dreams, and find a short audio clip and practice shadowing. Be patient with yourself. It will be challenging at first, but with consistent practice, you will be building the physical and mental pathways for fluent, natural speech. You are proving to yourself that you don't need to wait for a speaking partner to start speaking like a natural. We've now covered 3 crucial secrets to thinking in English: escaping the translation trap with narration, building your English brain through immersion, and practicing speech alone with self-talk and shadowing. These techniques are focused on training your mind and your mouth for spontaneous, real-time communication. But there is another set of skills that, while they may seem slower and more deliberate, are absolutely essential for giving your English thoughts structure, clarity, and depth. This brings us to our 4th secret: using reading and writing to consciously organize and build your English brain. Many learners see reading and writing as separate, passive skills. They think reading is just for learning vocabulary, and writing is just for passing exams. But this is a huge misunderstanding. When used correctly, reading and writing are active, powerful tools that directly improve your ability to think and speak fluently. They are the architects that help you build a well-organized, sophisticated structure inside your English mind. Let's start with reading. The key to using reading for fluency is to engage in something called extensive reading. This means reading a large quantity of material that is relatively easy for you. The goal is not to analyze every sentence or look up every single new word. The goal is to read for pleasure and general understanding. Think of it like taking a long, relaxing walk in an English park. You are simply absorbing the scenery, the common sentence structures, the natural flow of ideas, the everyday vocabulary, without stopping to examine every single leaf on every tree. When you read extensively, your brain is doing something incredible. It is subconsciously recognizing patterns. You might not be able to explain the grammar rule for using the present perfect tense, but after seeing it used correctly hundreds of times in a story, you will start to develop a feel for it. You will know that "I have lived here for 5 years" sounds right, while "I am living here for 5 years" sounds a bit off. This intuitive understanding is the foundation of natural speech. It's the same way you learn the grammar of your native language, not by studying rules, but by being exposed to a massive amount of language. I had a student from France named Chloe who loved to read novels in French, but she was terrified of reading a book in English. She thought it would be too difficult and frustrating. She imagined herself with a dictionary in one hand, looking up every second word. I encouraged her to forget about classic literature for now. Instead, I suggested she start with a graded reader, which is a book specifically adapted for a certain English level, or even a popular young adult novel, which often uses more straightforward language. She chose a fantasy novel intended for teenagers. At first, she read slowly, but because the story was so exciting, she found herself pushing forward, wanting to know what happened next. She started using context to guess the meaning of new words instead of stopping to look them up. After a few chapters, something amazing happened. She told me she completely forgot she was reading in a foreign language. She was lost in the world of the story, her mind fully engaged with the characters and the plot. She was no longer studying English, she was experiencing it. When she finished the book, she realized she had effortlessly learned dozens of new words and seen complex grammar structures used over and over again. This experience gave her a huge boost in confidence. Now let's talk about writing. If reading is about absorbing the structure of the language, writing is about practicing how to build that structure yourself. Writing is thinking on paper. It is one of the most direct ways to practice forming your thoughts in English. When you speak, you have no time to pause and reflect. But when you write, you can take your time. You can search for the perfect word. You can experiment with different sentence structures, and you can organize your ideas logically. This slow, deliberate practice is incredibly beneficial for your speaking skills. Just like with our other techniques, the key is to start small and be consistent. Don't try to write a perfect essay on your first day. Start with what I call the one-sentence journal. Every single day before you go to bed, write just one sentence in English about your day. It could be as simple as, "Today I had a delicious lunch," or "I felt very tired after work today." The power of this habit is not in the complexity of the sentence, but in the consistency. Every day you are forcing your brain to summarize a thought or experience directly in English. Over time, that one sentence might naturally become two, and then three, and then a full paragraph. Once you are comfortable with that, you can try the brain dump technique. Set a timer for just 5 minutes. Choose a topic, any topic at all. It could be my favorite holiday, my thoughts on social media, or what I want to achieve this year. For those 5 minutes, you write in English without stopping. The most important rule is that you are not allowed to worry about grammar, spelling, or punctuation. Do not stop to correct yourself. The goal is to get your thoughts out of your head and onto the page in a continuous stream of English. This exercise trains your brain to move past that internal critic, that voice that tells you to stop and check every word. It builds mental endurance and helps you connect ideas more fluidly in English. Let's try a very small version of this right now. I'll give you a simple topic. My favorite type of food. Just take a moment. Don't write anything down yet, just think. What English words and phrases come to your mind? Maybe pizza, delicious. I like spicy food. Cheese is the best. Makes me happy. Can you feel how you are connecting an idea, your favorite food, directly to English words without a translator? That is the beginning of the brain dump process. Chloe, my student who started with reading, began a one-sentence journal. Soon she was writing about the books she was reading. She would summarize the chapters or write down her thoughts about the characters. She told me she noticed a surprising side effect. In conversations, when she wanted to explain something, she found that the sentences came to her more easily. It was because she had already practiced organizing those kinds of thoughts in her journal. The act of writing had created mental templates, organized structures in her English brain that she could then access when she was speaking. Reading and writing are the two sides of the same coin. Reading provides you with the blueprint, showing you how beautiful, complex structures are built in English. Writing gives you the tools and the practice to start building those structures yourself. Your fourth mission is to become an architect of your English brain. Find something enjoyable to read in English, even if it's just a blog post or a news article about your favorite hobby, and start your one-sentence journal tonight. These quiet, reflective practices will build a strong, organized foundation that will make your spoken English not just more fluent, but also more thoughtful and clear. We've come a long way on this journey together. We've explored 4 powerful secrets to transform your English from a subject you study into a language you think in. We started by learning how to escape the translation wall by becoming the narrator of our own lives. We discovered how to build a rich, immersive English bubble at home, training our brains with both passive and active input. We unlocked the power of speaking even when we're alone, using the revolutionary techniques of self-talk and shadowing to build fluency without fear. And finally, we learned how to use reading and writing as architectural tools to build a strong, well-organized structure for our English thoughts. Each of these secrets is a powerful tool on its own, but when you begin to combine them, that is when the real magic happens. Imagine a typical day. You wake up and your first thought is in English, a simple narration. Okay, it's time to get up. While you make your coffee, you have a podcast playing in the background, passive immersion. On your commute to work, you actively shadow a 5-minute audio clip. During your lunch break, you read a few pages of an English novel. And before you go to sleep, you write 2 or 3 sentences in your journal about your day. None of these activities takes a lot of time. None of them feels like a grueling study session, but together they create a constant, gentle pressure on your brain, encouraging it day by day to operate more and more in English. Think back to the students we talked about. Kenji, who was trapped by his logical translating mind, started to find his voice through simple narration. Sophia, who felt overwhelmed and tired, discovered the joy of learning through the music and TV shows she already loved. David, paralyzed by shyness, built his confidence in the safe space of his own room through self-talk and shadowing. And Chloe, who was afraid of the challenge of a full English book, found a gateway to fluency through the pleasure of a good story and the clarity of a daily journal. I can imagine them now, perhaps a year later, meeting by chance at an international conference. Kenji would be able to confidently share his technical ideas, his English flowing with a newfound ease. Sophia would be laughing, effortlessly understanding the jokes and cultural references in the conversation. David, no longer the quiet observer, would be actively asking questions, engaging with others with a warm and open energy. And Chloe would be articulating her thoughts with a clarity and structure that came from her deep connection with a written word. They wouldn't be perfect. They would still have their accents. They would still occasionally search for a word, but they would be communicating freely, naturally, confidently, because they had stopped just learning English and had started living in it. This transformation is not reserved for a few lucky people. It is available to every single one of you listening right now. Thinking in English is not a mysterious talent you are born with. It is a skill you build. It is the result of small, consistent, daily habits. It's about choosing to narrate your walk to the bus stop instead of scrolling through your phone in silence. It's about choosing to listen to an English podcast while you cook dinner instead of your usual music. It's about choosing to write one simple sentence in your journal before you turn off the light. The journey to fluency is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days when you feel like you are not making any progress. There will be times when you stumble over your words or fail to understand a conversation. That is a normal and necessary part of the process. On those days, I want you to be kind to yourself. I want you to remember how far you have come and celebrate the small victories, the joke you understood, the sentence you spoke without translating, the new phrase you used correctly. Each of these moments is a brick being laid in the foundation of your fluent self. So your final mission, and perhaps the most important one, begins today, right now. I want you to choose just one, not all of them, just one of the techniques we discussed today and commit to trying it for 5 minutes after you finish listening to this. Will you be like Kenji and narrate the rest of your evening? Will you be like Sophia and find an English song to actively listen to? Will you be like David and try shadowing a short audio clip? Or will you be like Chloe and start your one-sentence journal tonight? Whatever you choose, I want you to share it. Go to the comment section below and tell me which secret you are going to try first. Write, "My mission is the narration technique," or "I'm starting my one-sentence journal tonight." By writing it down, you are making a commitment to yourself. And by sharing it, you are joining a community of learners from all over the world who are on the exact same journey as you. Reading your comments, seeing you encourage each other, that is what inspires me to create these lessons. I read every single comment and I love being a part of your progress. Thank you for spending this time with me today. It has been an honor to be your guide. If you found this journey helpful, please hit that subscribe button and join our community here at English in Advance. Together, we will continue to explore the path to confident, natural English. Remember, the goal is not just to speak the language. The goal is to feel at home in it. I'm Jessica. Keep practicing, stay curious, and start building your English brain, one thought at a time.